Wildlife photography isn't just about the perfect shot. It's about those moments in between, the quiet search for your next discovery. It's the hard work and dedication that we put in to quietly capture a moment that would otherwise go unseen. In this video, I'm sharing the story of how I discovered a great horned owl and documented its stay over the winter. For years now, I've reliably spotted a barred owl in this forest, and I've always liked to believe it was the same one. However, it's been a while since I last saw any signs of it living out here, so I decided to head out one evening and have a look around. Just out for a walk to see if the barred owl is active and to check some of my old eastern screech tree cavities. I have honestly had a very unlucky start to the year. I guess I can't say that entirely, but I honestly haven't had the right drive, I guess. And I was sitting at home after a failed hike this afternoon, looking for some video games to play, looking to kill some time, and I thought to myself, what is the point of living close to such a beautiful place if I don't go out for at least an hour and just look around? So I'm gonna see what I can see, and as night falls, I'm gonna listen, because it was this time of year last year that I began to hear eastern screech owls and their mating calls back and forth. The old barred owl tree spot. As you can see, a lot of people hike through here. I wonder. I just see paw prints. I think that's a great horned owl, and my first time ever seeing one. I had no idea it was there, so I'm backing way off. We're gonna find a hiding spot and pray I didn't screw this up. I just want an ideable photo. The owl returned to the same trees that I accidentally flushed him from, which was a great outcome from this encounter, so I decided it was time to quietly leave. Okay, sat quiet for a while and waited for the right moment to depart. How is this even real though? I was left with so many questions, but most of all, was he here to stay? In search of answers, I headed out the next night, around the same time, with the goal of listening for the great horned owl. It would be stunning to see an owl in this lighting right now. I took the same path I used last night, bringing me out at the top of the hill. I sat and listened for a while, but even with a warm drink, I just couldn't sit any longer, so I decided to follow some of the trails through the forest. No way. Okay, great horned owl call. This direction. I just don't know how far the call might have carried. I just need to wait for another call. Okay, so I sat for a bit, waiting to see if I'd hear something again. There hasn't been another call, but I'm wondering if maybe it was close. It's somewhere in that clump of trees in front of me. If that's the case, then me walking away might be the best option. That was my one and only sign I get today. But at least I know the owl's still out here. I'm gonna head home for dinner. A few nights later, I headed back out, determined to learn more about this owl. Almost 5 o'clock. Just very slowly and quietly making my way through the woods. This time, I decided to listen from between the two patches of trees where I suspected it might like to roost. Holy moly, that was so close. I only heard him hoot once, but it was still a good sign. And with the evening coming to a close, I decided it was time to head home. Just left the owl area, taking the back exit out. I took the same trail at the top of the hill to avoid walking through any of the potential roosting areas. Just as I was about to step out onto the main trail, the unexpected happened. My second encounter with this owl, right out in the open. My best guess was the owl was leaving the forest at night to hunt along the open trails where I often see rabbits and grouse. So I'm getting out of here, giving him the rest of the night to hunt in peace. By the end of the week, a snowstorm had arrived. It seemed like it would be a fun day to head out and try to find the roost. But first, I quickly stopped by an old tree cavity to see if the eastern screech owl was around this year. Unfortunately, there was no sign of it yet. Well, looks like we're gonna go find the great horned owl. And I've got a really solid idea of his habits and where he might be. Today is absolutely stunning. Dude, if we see a great horned owl in this, it's gonna be one of the best photos of the year. Okay, time to quiet up, because right up ahead is great horned owl territory. So it's time to calm down and get serious. Okay, my first strategy today is to check out the exact location very carefully from a new angle. Oh my gosh, insane. Oh god. I was pretty confident the owl was using the second patch of trees, but I still took a moment to check the first patch before walking by. I moved slowly through the forest, using some trees as cover. This way, if I did spot the owl, I could try to stay out of its view, minimizing the stress my presence might cause him. As I continued to scan the trees, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. It turns out the owl had been watching me closely this entire time, and he was perched much higher up than I ever expected. By using the trees as cover and pointing my camera between them, I was able to stay hidden. Though, of course, he knew I was there, he felt comfortable enough to take his eyes off me. The snow slowly began to worsen, so I decided it was time to leave the owl to rest. Okay, that's it for tonight. I'm heading home before I have to amputate one of my toes or fingers, or maybe all of them. Over the next few weeks, I had several more opportunities to observe the owl from the same hiding spot. It worked well. He always settled back in once I got set up. I captured moments of him preening and stretching, but mostly, I just watched him sleep, facing the opposite direction of me. Which, as a photographer, posed a significant challenge. Between the high angle and the many distracting branches, this just wasn't going to work if I wanted to capture any great images. So, I knew my approach needed to change, but in a way that wouldn't bother the owl. It's crazy how far this adventure's come. From an uninspired night, accidentally spooking the owl out of this tree line, to countless nights watching him in his roost down that way. Pretty exciting stuff. I still haven't quite gotten the right photo yet. As the month went on, we finally got a taste of some warmer weather. So, I headed out in the afternoon to see if the eastern screech owl might be taking advantage of the sunshine. After a short wait, the screech owl emerged. I think it's really amazing to see how some different owl species can overlap in a shared territory. A few years ago, I would have never known these amazing creatures were out here, sometimes hidden in plain sight. After a short viewing, I decided to head down to the great horned owls area to have a look around for that new approach. Just a little ways up the hill from the trees I had previously been using as cover, I found an opening with a clear view. There wasn't much to hide behind, so I simply laid down to appear less threatening. From there, I captured some peaceful footage of the owl snoozing. Now, since this was my first attempt from this new angle, and it was still early in the afternoon, I made my visit short. That was a good afternoon. I didn't want to spend too much time and stress the owl out. This is resting time for him. So, maybe I think we'll head out in a few nights. I work tonight, I work the weekend, maybe Monday. The warm weather didn't last long, and on my next outing, another snowstorm was brewing. Trying to stick to the path because the snow has turned to ice. It's really difficult to be quiet. Just gonna have to move slow because he's up ahead. Hopefully. I slowly made my way up to the new opening, this time finding a small patch of trees to block the view between myself and the owl. Any bit of cover can make a big difference. As long as you stay still and quiet at a respectful distance, the owl is more likely to go on with its routine. And it didn't take long for my new approach to pay off. I was able to watch as he prepared to leave the roost. So I'm sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting, and my goal is to hopefully hear him hoot. And he jumps right up above my head. He did a couple hoots, so I got that on film, and then he flew off to his hunting grounds out behind me. So I'm gonna take the woods home, get out of here. That is it for tonight. Oh, I'm so cold. This project was really starting to come together now, and the owl seemed to have a pretty clear routine. About a half an hour before sunset, he would start waking up, with some stretches and preening, hopping from branch to branch, and occasionally letting out a hoot, before flying off to the open trails for the night. And with some pretty stunning images in the books, all that was left to figure out was how I wanted to close this story. So, I took some time to think. It was now the start of March, and by this point, I had a feeling this owl would remain a bachelor this season. So, I headed out on a warm afternoon to see if I could find any updates. Alright, it's like 5 degrees out or something today. The adventure hat is back on. Sure enough, I found the owl, though it had moved over a few trees from its usual roost. That could have been from the extra foot traffic on the trails, or the growing crow presence that usually comes with spring. He was keeping a close eye on a few nearby crows. And as they flew past, he pressed tightly against the base of the tree. Once the coast was clear, he shifted back over and settled in for a nap. I witnessed the same behavior one other time. One evening, there was a standoff between the owl and a red squirrel. But some nearby hikers broke the tension, causing the owl to scurry off and tuck away against the tree. It seemed pretty clear that this was an attempt to camouflage itself from any potential threats. That squirrel encounter got me thinking, what if I tried to capture other animals around the roost? So I headed out in the early afternoon, hoping to gather up some final footage that might help me find a conclusion to this project. At first, I couldn't find the owl. These last few visits had been very spread out, and every time he was somewhere new, but still within the same group of trees. Eventually, I did come across the new roost, and there was plenty of activity around it. So, I settled in nearby and watched as the tension grew between the squirrels and the owl. As I sat and watched, I could have never guessed what was going to happen next. A pair of pileated woodpeckers flew in, chasing each other from tree to tree while they searched for food. The owl seemed a little stunned by the situation, but as things finally cooled off, something even more incredible happened. I don't know how much longer he stayed, or where he might go next, but for a while, in this little patch of the forest, our paths crossed. And in those quiet moments, I witnessed some incredible things. With spring quickly settling in, it felt like the right time to step back and start looking forward to whatever comes next.